Hello guys and welcome to Maximan 7 GT. Doing another talkover video of a replay that I had yesterday. Back in the RX-7 again. As you can see, I've got my livery on now with my logo, YouTube channel, etc. and number. This was another of the A-Class 6-cylinder 20-minute races. In the previous video I went softs. On this one I decided to go hards and see if I could hang on. So enjoy the show. Put any comments that you think in the comments, like the video, and yeah, enjoy. Right, so as you can see, I get off to a pretty good start. There's Mock Chop again in the KTM coming up the inside. I love Watkins Glen. It's probably one of my favourite tracks. Got a little bit out of shape in the first corner. The BMW managed to get up the inside, but I managed to hang out around the outside. I think there was a little touch as he turned in on me there. Got a little bit sideways, but managed to hold the power down. So I get myself into first position, coming down to the bus stop. And yeah, it was basically just drive as fast as I can on hard tyres and see where we get to and see if we can hang on. So I take a pretty good line through the bus stop. Obviously hard tyres are a little bit different to drive on than the softs. You don't really ever get much grip. They slide about a lot, they take a lot longer to heat up. There were some quick guys in the lobby further back that as you'll see on the left hand side, they started making their way through. For me, this whole race was about getting my head down and trying to hang on. So just trying to make sure I hit my lines. Again, you can't take the same speed through the corners as you can when you're on softs. But there was just no way with 9 laps here that I was going to pull out a long enough lead on softs to benefit from doing a soft strategy. So yeah, so obviously just coming down to the last part of the first lap, locking up a little bit, hard tyres, like I said again, when there's no grip, you get the braking slightly wrong, you do lock up, leaving a few tyre marks down. Evo Sniper was the bloke in the BMW. He was quick in the straight line. Didn't have it quite through the corners. He went on a soft strategy. I think Mock Chop behind him was on a soft strategy as well. The racer that I was that was gaining on me the most, that I was looking at probably having a race with, was Grim Racer. He had already made up, I think, 6 or 7 positions, and he wasn't that far behind me. I think he'd got himself back to about 3 seconds. So it was just a case of, I just knew that I just had to concentrate and just keep going, really. So onto the second lap, starting to get the feel for the hard tyres, starting to get a little bit more grip. Make it up for here. I think I tapped the wall slightly there, a little bit of understeer at the top of the hill, which obviously benefited the people behind me, enabled them to catch up a little bit. The main thing for me was making sure that I nailed the bus stop every single time. It's so easy to make a mistake here. You can run yourself wide, catch a wall, hit a curve, and obviously send yourself all over the place. So I just knew that I had to just keep my head down and just concentrate on what I was doing. Again, as you see on the left hand side, Grim Racer, he's worked his way up through the field. He's gotten to the back of Mock Chop, and he's not that far away from second. I was hoping that he was going to hold him up, that Mock Chop and Evo could hold him up for as long as possible, just so I could have a little bit of comfort at the front. He managed to get up, obviously you can see, past Mock Chop on there, and he was into third. It didn't take him long to get past Evo Speed in second. And then realistically, the next 6 or 7 laps were just a case of hoping and praying that I could stay ahead of him. He's a quick racer, and you know he was hitting his marks every single lap, every single corner. So we just had to make sure that I was doing the same and just try to stay ahead as best as I could. If I swing round slightly on the rail cam, you'll be able to see just how close he actually is to me. He was pulling in all the time. So that's what 1.2 seconds looks like. Through this corner, he gained a little bit. The only thing I had in my favour in the Mazda RX-7 was the straight line speed. I mean, as I said previous videos, once you get it into 5th, it starts to pull. So you'll be able to see on the left-hand side, he makes it up through the corners. To be fair to him as well, he was in an old Buick GTX, which to be doing the lap times he was doing on what I think were hard tyres, was pretty impressive, to be fair. As you can see, coming up the hill, he gains on me slightly, and then obviously 5th gear, like I said, I start pulling. You look on the right hand side, you can see just how quickly it does obviously go up speed wise, getting up to 158 mile an hour, braking, making sure I hit my braking points for the bus stop. And this was pretty much the rest of the race. I mean, he did get closer to me, he got under a second a few times, but I managed to obviously pull back out of leads on the straights and through some corners, which was quite strange. Some corners I managed to actually pull away, but then I think he just had the power out of the corners, the initial drive. So coming through here, he's 1.5 behind me, and then obviously if you look up on the left hand side, I actually pull away from him slightly there, but obviously out of this corner is where I noticed it the most. So look, he gained 3 tenths on me just into that corner. Must have unbelievable brakes on that car, and then obviously coming up the hill, he does start to gain on me. So this is at the end of the 3rd lap. Let me just swing it back round. I will swing it back round as he gets closer, which won't be too far away. Again, for me, it was just all about concentrating on my lines. You don't want to make any silly mistakes when a race is this close. One mistake could be the difference between winning the race, finishing 2nd, even finishing 3rd. You know, if you lose a bit of time or run off the track. It was another race for me with no penalties, which is how I like to race, really. I think it's how racing should be done. Don't get me wrong, you get the odd one here and there, but consistent penalties isn't good. I'm S-Class rated, skill rating 4997, so I race with the quickest guys on Forza, so you know there's a little bit of respect and a little bit of way of racing that we just try to stick by. Mockshot made a mistake in the last lap coming up through the bus stop. I spoke to him after, and he managed to catch the inside wall, which was unlike him. He's very quick through there, so he did drop back down to 10th. He was in the position now where he just got to drive as quick as possible and try and work his way through the field. There isn't much field spread, so if you look at the times on the left hand side, there's probably only 15 seconds covering top 10. So it was a pretty close race. It was a pretty close way all the way through the pack. Like I said, pit stops will come into play. Yeah, so you know there'll be people that need to pit that will obviously drop down the order and then come back strong later on. And then there's obviously us nutters that have gone out on the hards to see if we can make them last. Weirdly, in this Mazda, the hards usually last in any car on any track. I put 10 laps of fuel in whilst running the hard tyres, and again, unfortunately, on the telemetry on the right hand side, you can't see the tyre wear. But when I got onto the last lap, I had front and rear all orange, so the tyre wear had been pretty heavy on me. Probably down to a few little lock-ups like that and a few slides here and there. So as you can see, Grim Racer is about 1.4 seconds behind me. It seems to be the norm across the lap. He gains on me in certain sectors. I'll pull away from him in the others. So it was a real game of chess, really. Obviously, I didn't want to make a mistake, as I said previously. He was obviously going to push as quick as possible, just trying to force me into a mistake. As I said in the previous video as well, you know, that's where you can, if you can force someone into a mistake, obviously not by hitting them, but just by putting pressure on them, you know, that's how you can win races. So I was a bit conscious of the fact that if he got close enough to me, I'd be looking behind me rather than looking in front. But like I said, I managed to keep him at arm's length for, I'd say 99% of the video. So up through here again, this is where I pulled on him. This is where I was pretty confident. As you can see, he got back to 1.2 on me there. But once I get onto the straight, as you can see, I'll just start pulling out a little bit of distance. So I managed to get back up to about 1.4 seconds there from 1.2. Again, going through the bus stop, I managed to nail the bus stop every lap, which, if you've seen me race or you've raced with me previously, is no hard feat for me. There's usually, in a long race, at least one mistake I make through there. Even in the Ford versus Ferrari video from previous, not so much a mistake, but I tried to take too much speed through and there was nowhere to go with the other driver that was in front of me. So I just made sure that I concentrated on hitting my lines and just making sure that I didn't make any mistakes that would let Grim back in. So we're coming round onto the last sector of the fifth lap. The car is getting a little bit slidey. Like I said, hard tyres. they never really grip like you think they're going to. You think that you half expect them to heat up at some point, but they didn't. So I was forever sliding slightly, locking up a little bit. Just a big shout out to Mock Chop as well, by the way. The paint job looks unbelievable. Mock Chop does all my liveries for me. He runs them on his car as well. It's a little team thing that I'm trying to set up. Again, in the comments, any of you guys want a similar livery, Mock Chop is willing to do some team liveries, slightly different to ours, but you know, they'll still have the same logos, same sort of colourway on them. So I'd be more than happy to get Mock Chop to do some liveries if you're up for it. Yeah, so we're coming on to the sixth video, onto the sixth lap now. Again, it was about a second every single time. I mean, at this moment in time, just wait for the interval to change up in the left-hand corner. But he is about a second behind me, 1.1, something like that. There we go, 1.1 seconds. So if I spin it around slightly here, you can see that he is gaining on me. I do pull out a little bit again, I get it back to 1.2. I lock up massively going into the bus stop there, but still hit my lines. And as you can see, he takes a chunk of time out of me there again. But I managed to get a good turning into the long hairpin, which if you look, I actually get a good drive out, and I managed to pull away from him slightly. He was gaining, I would probably say, half a tenth, maybe 600ths a lap overall throughout the race. It was just an enjoyable race. I like racing under pressure. I think it adds something a little bit different to your racing. You know, it's not all, again, I could sit here and go flat out as much as I could, but that's when you make mistakes. I was conscious of him behind me, so I knew that I just had to drive sensible. I probably wasn't driving the quickest that I could have driven, but I was just making sure I didn't make any mistakes. So as you can see there, he gains on me again. It is a big old American car, that Buick GTX, and he drove it brilliantly, to be fair. As you can see, lines wise, he gets the turning on me, he gains on me on the turning, and then I just seem to get a drive out slightly and start to pull away. Coming through here, he actually takes a tenth out of me. So I think this was the first time that it sort of got to just under a second. Coming around the last corner, I would again get the power down and manage to pull out a slight gap, as you can see. Nothing major. It was just a case of, I just knew that I had to just make sure I didn't make a mistake. Evo Sniper went in the pits. I think he started on mediums, which was a strange decision, but you know, it was a decision that he did make. It could have worked for him if he'd managed to get ahead, I suppose. But you know, for me, if you're going to try and do a split strategy, you go softs. I mean, Watkins Glen does eat tyres. It can be pretty brutal on the tyres. Like I said, it's very difficult to look after tyres in Forza. So, you know, maybe he should have pitted a lap earlier, so he would have had a bit longer on the softs. But again, that's down to him. He's made a decision. He did drop back, but he only dropped back to 6th, and he's now out on softs. So he had an opportunity to make his way back through the field. As you can still see, so Grimm's just on me. Like I said, it's only a second, but I just knew that he was there constantly. So on that corner there, I tried to take a slightly wide line just to get a drive out. It didn't work. He took a couple of tenths out of me again. And this is exactly what the race was all about. He turned in a little bit early there, which took a bit of time out. There you go, he got it down under a second. But then I managed to actually get the drive up the hill. He was actually gaining on me usually out that corner. So, you know, for me to actually pull away, it just gave me a little bit of confidence in the car still. As you can see, the tyres are starting to wear. I'm getting a little bit sideways. I say a little bit, I'm getting pretty sideways, to be honest. So I'll spin the car back round so you can have a look at it from there. I'll be able to zoom out so you can also see him closing in. That curve on the outside there could be lethal. You catch your back wheels on there, you're spinning. There's no way you're catching it. So again, I was just trying to, there you go, I've zoomed out. I was just trying to make sure that I hit my lines. You can see here, he's down to 0.7 of a second. This is where I started to get a little bit worried. You know, you start looking in your rear view mirror more than you're looking in front of you. He's sitting behind me. Luckily, I did have the speed to pull away, but under brakes, that Buick was phenomenal. Another big slide for me there, get out of the corner. But this is where I knew that I had the speed on him. Obviously, you know, overall speed, getting into 5th and then just pulling away. It just helped me sort of maintain that gap of about a second. So he's at 0.9 at the moment. As you'll see, it'll pop up, it'll jump up to a second. There we go. So I was only just pulling away from him, but he started to put the pressure on even more. I made a good run through the bus stop there, which really helped because, like I said, I was under pressure. So obviously coming round here, I made a good line, and as you can see, he's just closing in on me constantly. He's made up 10 positions, which is pretty good in a race like this. You know, like I said in previous races, there are some people that feel the need to maybe bump or turn into you as you're trying to get past. So for him to make up 10 positions, especially that early on in the race as well, was pretty incredible. So again, we're coming around to the last lap. At this point, just coming out of this corner, my front tyres went orange. So the tyre wear, I was starting to notice it even more with the feel of the car. The rears were still sitting white at the moment. Going into the first corner on the last lap, the rear tyres went orange as well. So as you can see, another little slide and a little bit wide. Luckily, I didn't run over the curb to get a penalty. I started to feel the pressure here, to be honest with you. It was starting to get to me, but I just knew that I just had to concentrate to keep him behind me. Again, he's under a second now behind me. He's quick through the second half of the race, to be honest. I make a little mistake there again, getting up on the grass, but I'm still maintaining that position. Here, he really closed up. I think it dropped to about 0.6 altogether. He's at 0.9 at the moment, but he started to close in. He was closing in on me more and more. So we're on to the last lap. So let's just sit behind me and watch the last lap. You can judge if I make any mistakes. I know I made a few, got a little bit out of shape. But for me, considering the tyres were worn, I think it was a good enough last lap to win the race, and ultimately I did. So just sit back and enjoy. Most of the tyre marks on the track are from me, getting it sideways. So sitting here now, I can actually hear his car gaining on me. I can hear it coming down to the bus stop. He was pulling in, lock up a little bit. Like I said, the tyres are shot to pieces now. So make a little mistake there. Still just within track limits. Just trying to hit my braking points. Taking the corners a lot slower than I usually would. It is difficult when you're on the hards because realistically, as I said, most of the time you're racing on soft tyres, so your braking points are your braking points. You know where you can brake, you know what speed you can take through the corners. When you change the hards, you don't get the luxury of having too much of a practice, and the speed you take through the corners and just where you've got to brake are just slightly different. And it can take, I mean, it took me the whole race to work out where my braking points, as you can see, but it can take, you know, 3 or 4 laps to actually get up to speed. You know, if you've sat in the lobby and practiced for 20 minutes, you're already at that stage. So yeah, so Grim was 1.1 seconds behind me here, and I thought I had it in the bag. Through this corner, I don't really think I make a mistake. I just don't really get the power out of the corner very well. And as you can see, he's down to 0.9, 0.8. And again through here, I was so worried about running wide and getting a penalty. I took it a bit tentative, and he literally takes another 0.2 of a second out of me. He's 0.6 out of me, behind me, coming onto the last corner. And coming onto the straight, I just knew that I had the speed to just about stay in front of him. It was an epic race for me, for different circumstances, just for the sheer fact I knew that I had to hang on. And when you've got quick guys behind you and you know that you can hang on, it gives you a bit of confidence. And yeah, I enjoyed the race. Again, a bit of a sweaty palms moments, but I enjoyed the race. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Like I said, subscribe to my channel, Maximan7GT, on Twitch and on YouTube. Again, as I said in the previous video, if you want to add me on Xbox, I'm going to start trying to setting up some private multiplayers at some point, probably a Friday night thing. Obviously, any advice, any suggestions, ideas that you've got, please just let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all soon. Cheers, guys.